I definitely think Illinois does not have the best medical marijuana laws. It is very restrictive both for patients and doctors, and I feel like that's very clear since they projected they would have around, I think, 100,000 patients at one point enrolled and like receiving medical marijuana, but I think up to January they had like 6,300 patients, which is a very little amount and makes it very hard for like distributors to have like an actually sustainable market. So I think it's very restrictive and it's not actually providing the help that a lot of people could get from a different type of medication. So I think it could be improved by adding more conditions to the list, making the process of attaining it less like arduous for patients, and that would not only benefit patients, but also if they actually want it to be like a project that is successful, they need the more patients. So I do think it could be improved, and it's definitely not a good one compared to other states. I feel like we have two sides. One is internal education, so basically teaching our members about, we kind of focus on three pillars. One is race and the war on drugs, so how the war on drugs has been affecting minorities. Then also harm reduction, which is the idea that people will use drugs no matter like the laws you place or like the saying no. So basically it's teaching them, giving them the education to do drugs safely and like reduce all the harms of drug use that are often created by having these like abstinence-based programs. And then we're looking into intersectionality within drug use. So we basically educate our own members and then try to educate campus through events. Like we had a medicalization of addiction panel. We did harm reduction tabling for DILA, so basically giving tips on how like to use certain drugs safely, which we know will be used at DILA Day. And then outside of campus, we've been getting involved, for example, with Reclaim Chicago, which is a grassroots political organization that endorses certain candidates, and we basically supported them because they were supporting progressive drug policies. So we've been trying to engage, not just within campus, but outside. And it's just general, like promoting awareness, like more education, and then also trying to get certain people on like positions of power that actually believe in more progressive drug policies. The main misconception about marijuana, and I think all drugs, is that they like can only exist like within a negative realm, and like that they themselves are negative and not the laws that surround drugs. And I think this applies to all drugs. People see like impoverished neighborhoods. People see impoverished neighborhoods where basically people are going to jail, getting into like, there's like violence in these neighborhoods because of like drug trafficking, for example, but that's the cause of that are not the drugs themselves. It's not like these drugs are promoting the violence in like their chemical like compositions. It's the fact that they're illegal, that people are like prosecuted for nonviolent drug crimes, and that like they are living in these areas where there's a lack of opportunity. There's just structural inequality that pushes them to have to like resort to like drug dealing in order to make enough money to survive. And therefore you see people kind of attribute a bunch of different like societal issues to drug use and drug trafficking without realizing that the main issues are derived from the fact the government has made these illegal and also does not promote like structural change that would allow people to not like use or deal drugs. So I think the main misconception is that like the drugs themselves are negative, and rather than the stigma and the laws around them that actually make their use and their dealing extremely negative.